Since I only have so much time this year to do this, let's use this month to knock out as many Swan Princess movies as we can, starting with A Royal Mystery.
It's time to stand on all fours and man up. Be the cat that you are and man up. When the voice in your head starts to worry.
What even is this title? A Z instead of an S? Did a Turtles merchant write this? Okay, this choice is meant to allude to actual plot stuff, which is a rarity. But what exactly is the mystery they're talking about? Let's find out. We open in Romeo for a bit, seeing some rats dock some boat, before we shift over to the once destroyed village from Royally Undercover. Thanks to charity efforts from that last movie, the place is now fully restored. Queen Uberta is going there to see the place for herself. There are cutouts of her holding a book, which itself has pictures of her holding the book, etc, etc. Never mind how they even have it in a medieval setting, why are they celebrating her over a book release? Why are there adults and children dressed up like her? I like her for some of her shenanigans in an ironic kind of way, but I wouldn't go that far. Apparently she's on a book tour that's been going on for a few weeks, and I guess the book is about the events from the last movie, which she still is quite sensitive about.
My mom says you made this book up and that you loved Antonio for realsies.
Your mother is...
And then we see the rats follow her all the way back to her kingdom. And usual title credits and water animation. What exactly did we accomplish here?
Nothing! Absolutely nothing!
Seriously, even the other movies gave us some kind of worthwhile setup. This one just gave us a book tour and rats following our heroes home. Not exactly exciting for a cold opening. I suppose the real payoff to it is in the morning, because Uberta panics over someone slashing a Z on her book. Rogers thinks she accidentally caused it, but Derek doesn't think so.
And I didn't see any fibers under her nails either.
Let's leave forensics to a professional, shall we?
No! Give her back to me! You can't touch her! No! Out! Out! Out!
There it is. While outside, Derek and Odette notice rat tracks leading into the castle. Back in Romeo, we see that Lucas and Elise are actually doing some garden work for King Sebastian. He seems to really like it.
I'm going to get my easel and paint a selfie of me and Jasper with these flowers.
How the hell would that work? Scully shows up, and as they go to get sheets in case of frost... Wait. Holy crap, it's Antonio? Guess he survived the bogs, because he's using that suit we only ever saw him use once before. Speaking of bogs, while the kids are collecting sheets, they discover an old submarine from the previous villains. They go inside, and afterwards...
Looks like you caught me again, Hunch.
What the hell? Who is this Bog, and why do he and Scully know each other like this? Well, apparently, Hunch, as he's called, tried to establish law and order among his kind and died trying. Now he's like a ghost cop who goes after ghosts who wronged the bogs. I didn't think it was possible for them to get even sillier with their concept of the afterlife, but there's our big side plot for the movie. It's so weird that ghosts can't go through glass, but for whatever reason, Hunch turns invisible while his ghost rope is still present. You're just picking this stuff up as you go along, aren't you, Richard Rich? Anyway, Scully spots the man in black before he gets taken away, but he can't warn the kids in time. Back at home, Rogers is trying to reverse engineer the submarine from the last movie. Then the same Z mark from before appears in the blueprint, then on Speed's shell, and Jean-Bob's back? Yep, and apparently it's caused by the rats, which doesn't make much sense. The markings seem like they would be caused by a sword, kinda like with Zorro. The vigilante, not the One Piece character. Uberta thought she was responsible for all the Z's for a dumb moment, before just beating up on Rogers. Everyone then tries getting to the bottom of this mystery, now made more urgent when Odette's pendant also has a Z mark, and also Derek. They set off for Romeo, with Puffin flying ahead. Hunch returns to the island with Scully, where Nums wants to imprison the latter in a glass bottle. But when it comes to punishing the ghost for what he did a few movies back, Scully wants to hold a trial first, which means...
Game on! I've been training all my life for this!
It wasn't that funny the first time you did this, so what sense is there in doing it again? Back with the kids, they were picking tulips when the man in black summons his rats to carve a Z in the garden. Derek and Odette talk to Sebastian about who might be marking everything, but they don't get any leads. Back at the trial, it's a complete farce because most of the Bogs don't know how a trial works. Scully takes advantage of their stupidity and even reveals one of Nums's embarrassing secrets.
Wumsy, okay? Wumsy. It's Numsy Wumsy.
But really, what is the point of this? We're really just wasting time until Scully can escape and warn our heroes about the main villain. He does this after messing with Nums some more, and once he arrives in Borromeo, he sees some rats chewing a rope holding a chandelier just above Derek. He gets out of harm's way and chases the man in the black suit, but the bad guy gets away. The rats are the only leads, and Odette asks Jasper to help track them down. But get this, Jasper is afraid of rats, as indicated from last movie. He also says that the king wouldn't give him permission to leave anyway, and...
Follow the rats!
Your Highness?
And here's how you do it. Jasper!
Are you sure? I thought maybe...
Jasper and I may be royalty, but when it comes to friends, we are foot soldiers.
Rogers joins in on catching Hunch, and Scully apparently gave him a ghost rope before. I'd be more intrigued by Richard Rich's attempts at world building if it weren't so clunky. Again, this seems like stuff that would be better fit a TV series than a movie-based one. You could probably separate this ghost subplot from the main plot. To get to the bottom of this mystery, Derek goes to the dungeon to visit one of the villains from the last movie, Niccolo. He's apparently lost his mind since being caught.
Who is he?
It's Prince Derek, fool. His mother wrote the book.
Oh, Queen Yu to the rescue.
Well, at least David Lodge is enjoying himself. Derek asks him about the man in black, and Niccolo claims that it's Antonio and that he's back.
You think Antonio survived a hurricane in a rowboat?
There was a hurricane? I don't remember that. He just landed on the Bog Island. Unless you're talking about that perpetual storm. Is that what it is? Niccolo talks more about Antonio and what he's capable of. Then he argues with himself with a song.
If I were you, I would listen to me. I would do as I say and do as I do.
Okay, this one's a little fun, but they could have done more with visuals. Over to Rogers and Company, he communicates with light Morse code that he built a tracking device they can put on Scully. They do this by mixing the tracking device with the ghost rope, applying its properties to it, I guess. They plan to do the same with Hunch so they can keep track of him too. But before they can do that, he gets chased away again. Meanwhile, Odette and Jasper find a bunch of rats they could scare and maybe lead them to the main baddie. But Jasper claims to have lost 8 of his 9 lives from rats, somehow. So Odette has to sing a song about living life to the fullest.
It's time to stand on all fours and man up. Be the cat that you are and man up.
Like it or not, Odette has more to do with the plot here than in recent movies. But Jasper is still scared of rats after all that, so Odette has to do everything herself, which she fails at, though Jasper finally mans up. We then see the kids signaling to Rogers about where Scully is, but it's just to trick Hunch into going to the wharf so they can pass Scully to Rogers without interference. Both meet up and turn the communication device wireless with ghost power? Then they do the same for the gloves, just so the device can be held by Rogers. Sure, whatever. This is about the only interesting thing about this whole subplot, because there are some pretty neat ideas for ghost items. I just wish they were in a better series than this. But Hunch shows up anyway to take Scully. Again. While that's happening, Derek asks the harbor master about Antonio possibly coming back, but he just goes on a tangent about that being impossible. Derek can't stop thinking about the last thing Niccolo said.
It's all in the name. It's all in the name.
and returns to the castle. He checks the statue from earlier and discovers that Antonio's last name is Zambrano. Given the Z marks, this is how the prince puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that the man in black really is Antonio. With Scully missing, the kids help Rogers prepare a trap for Hunch. They lure him over and use some kind of ghost spray to buy time for Elise to snap the other device on him. Now they can better coordinate with Scully to get around Hunch.
Not quite yet, General Puffin. While Scully searches this quarter, you search here.
Except here is where Hunch is located since he's yellow, and Scully is purple. Oops! Odette and Jasper follow the rats into the sewers while the man in black watches them. Scully is tailing the villain while Derek is being lured into the sewers too. Odette then realizes who the trap is for and sends Scully to warn Derek. Hunch tries diverting Scully by stealing the communication device from Rogers, who, even though they have a radar in front of them, don't seem to know that he's on top of them. And then he misuses their communication device, but it fails. Derek then gets trapped in the sewer briefly, just as the man in black creeps up, but he's forced to retreat when guards start arriving. Odette realizes that Antonio is after him specifically because of their final confrontation in the last movie. Even though Elise and Lucas did more to stop his evil plans, Hunch then captures Scully, again, and Rogers fails to free our friendly ghost. Then Jean-Bob has an idea. Turn himself into a ghost and pretend to be the green thing that the Boggs worshipped 2 movies ago. I guess he doesn't take death seriously, but he did die in the second movie and was A-okay from that, but here he just jumps in the jar and lets the ghost rope take him. Again, this could have been a plot for a TV episode instead of a movie with an entirely different storyline. Now that he's a ghost, Jean-Bob tries to command Hunch into letting Scully go, but he returns to life before the ruse can fully take effect. Odette and Derek return to Niccolo to say that Antonio is back, and they need intel on what the big bad will do next. This is what they learn.
Whatever he would do has already happened.
That doesn't tell us anything.
The children.
No, that's impossible.
I mean, we did see him eye the kids earlier, and considering how he's eluded you all this far, is it really that impossible? With no one aware of the kids' whereabouts, our heroes conduct a search party. Odette and Derek think to follow the rats that lead them underground where Niccolo was held. Except there's now a big ol' hole shaped after the Uberta cutout he had in his cell. On the other side are the kids on a platform suspended over a pit. They can't just hop off because it's weight sensitive, so if either of them step off, it'll drop the other kid. And even if they do try to escape, the door will lock. Yeah, this is a pretty decent trap, all things considered. Derek decides to jump on the platform to offset the weight difference. In other words, he's replacing Elise and Lucas so they can escape. And now it's about Derek trying to get himself out of danger. He tells Odette to make a break for it with the kids.
This is not the end. Do you hear? Not the end!
And just in time for the man in black to show up. Surely Antonio has come for revenge, right?
Oh, quite the contrary.
I thought he was supposed to be a smarty.
Only according to his mother.
While it would have been reasonable to believe that Antonio came back and was using Niccolo to mess with our heroes, it was just Niccolo the whole time. Now, I do have to wonder how he got a hold of Antonio's suit and how he was able to get out of jail every time without being noticed, and where he found time to shave and get his old clothes back, but doesn't matter right now. He reveals how damaging Uberta's book was in revealing all of his evil deeds. So he's going to take his revenge out on her son first before going after everyone else who is dear to the prince.
Your end will only take the few seconds required to fall to the bottom. The others will die, a little each day, for having lost their beloved Prince Derek.
And some of these Swan Princess villains are kinda interesting. They deserve a better franchise. David Lodge is also putting in a good performance as Niccolo, which is probably the only thing that makes him threatening. And guess what? The Z marks aren't actually Z's at all. They're N's. N for Niccolo. The big bad pushes the button to drop the platform that Derek's on, but the prince escapes with some acrobatics. Unfortunately, he gets cornered by rats. You would think he gets pushed off, but no. Meanwhile, Scully pleads to Hunch about letting him go for a brief spell, even promising to tell his allies to not come look for him because of stuff he told them earlier. This surprises Hunch, to say the least.
You better take this.
A bog that's actually understanding. Now that he's free, sorta, Scully heads to Rogers to say that he's back. Derek is missing though because he was put into a grounded submarine. Our heroes spot the sub in time and Odette tells Puffin to get the wrench for it. Unfortunately, they come up short and now Derek is stuck. With Scully down there, they can at least talk to each other, and Rogers needs Derek to replace the control lever with the wrench that's in the sub. He does this by mimicking the rat calls that the man in black used to manipulate a rat that Niccolo stuck in the sub for funsies, so he's able to replace the lever. Yes, this was why we had him with the recovered submarine earlier. It was to prepare us for this scene. Not a bad callback. But all this time, Derek is losing consciousness, so Odette has to be the one to snap him awake, with a song that's associated with her movie franchise.
Far longer than forever, I'll hold you in my heart, though we're far apart.
Oh, it didn't work. Guess songs don't always help. What does work is Hunch showing up and scaring that one rat, which causes it to jump onto the lever and help the sub rise up. So Derek is saved, and Niccolo gets caught by the guards. I guess Hunch decided to let Scully go after seeing how much the latter would risk to save his friends. Or maybe he doesn't want the humans to hunt down the other bogs. Who knows? Uberta then hears the news about how her book helped take down Niccolo. Guess how she responds to that?
For a sequel, baby!
Forgive me for sounding like a broken record at this point, but this is yet another mixed bag for me. I really do think that some of the ideas they have, like applying ghost properties to items, or the stuff with Niccolo wanting revenge by instilling some paranoia inspired by his former partner, would make for interesting material. But both would better serve as standalone stories because they didn't mix well with each other. Then add Uberta and the bogs and it's just a jumbled mess. It is nice that Odette got to do more this time, even if it's mostly relegated to investigation work and singing. The fact she was even part of the plot more was nice, even if it means that the kids got less focused this time around. In any case, this is just another okay movie that doesn't need to exist. Because really, no one is asking for more Swan Princess movies. And yet, there are still more of them to check out. So stay tuned for next time as we listen to the Kingdom of Music.